Is running offensive? Is it offensive for people who can't run? Should the Olympics be canceled because the Olympics are ableist? What the fuck are we talking about?
Joe Rogan isn't one to shy away from the truth, even if it means facing cancellation. Known for his unfiltered honesty and fearless approach, Rogan has faced backlash for challenging the contradictions and absurdities of woke culture. Nevertheless, he continues to speak out. From calling out radical ideologies in universities to questioning social media-driven gender debates, Rogan addresses these issues head-on. In this video, we will explore how he exposes the flaws in the woke narrative and sparks critical conversations, regardless of the pushback he encounters. If you appreciate unfiltered discussions and real talk, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We focus on cutting through the noise and delving into topics that others avoid. Now, let's get started.
There's just very few people capable of thinking that way. And social media, unfortunately, reinforces this idea, and it reinforces these tribal groups. They connect to their ideology. They support these people in this little tribal group. The problem is that they step out of line at all. These people that are canceling, they run out of people to cancel, and they go after each other. They go out, progressives in particular. You're not progressive enough. They'll go after you for enabling.
Rogan makes the point that cancel culture is like a boomerang. You throw it and it'll eventually come back to smack you in the face. Today's woke warrior can easily become tomorrow's social media villain for not keeping up with the latest woke updates. It's like playing a game of musical chairs, but the music never stops. And every time you sit down, someone's waiting to yank the chair out from under you. At this rate, it's not a question of if you'll get canceled, it's when. As if things couldn't get more chaotic, even good-hearted people aren't immune to being caught up in the whirlwind.
I think your feeling is that there's really nice people that get bamboozled into really bad ideas, and then when you snuck in these hoax papers, that you're essentially speaking their lingo, and they don't even know that they have a lingo.
That's right. And so I actually think that what we're looking at with this woke movement, and we've kind of compared it to cult, we've kind of compared it to real. I actually think it's evil. And the reason is because exactly what you just said. It plays on people's best nature. It takes good people and twists them to its purpose.
Joe raises an important point here. Woke culture has a knack for transforming well-meaning individuals, those who genuinely want to do the right thing, into unpaid advocates for its agenda. It resembles a troubling infomercial. For just a small dose of guilt, you too can join the moral revolution. Before long, these kind-hearted people may find themselves canceling friends for using guys instead of folks in a group chat. This behavior isn't inherently evil, it's simply misguided. Nevertheless, it creates a chaotic situation. Moreover, these ideas often take root at a young age. Let's explore where this all begins.
And I think this is back when I was still reading comments. And one of the comments was, why would you care about what's happening in these universities? Like, this has literally no bearing on you. And my thought was, I don't think that's true, because the people from universities are eventually going to go into the workplace. And if this ideology is so radically different than anything I experienced when I was in my early 20s, like there's a shift in the culture that seemed to be a groupthink shift that was forcing people to accept these crazy ideas. And that this is going to have some spillover.
Rogan reminds us that the radical ideas emerging from universities don't remain confined to campus life, they spill over into the real world. It's akin to releasing a group of ideological lab rats into society, leading to unforeseen consequences for everyone. While it's acceptable for students to explore their beliefs in a college environment, the situation becomes concerning when these individuals take on significant roles such as running companies or teaching children. The issue intensifies when we discuss topics like questioning biological realities and making permanent decisions regarding children. This raises even more controversial questions that society must confront.
I'm 100%
That's considered transphobic.
Here's where things become particularly complicated. The debate over allowing children to make irreversible decisions about their bodies. It's like handing a 13-year-old the keys to a Ferrari and saying, hey, go nuts. What's the worst that could happen? People frequently change their minds about clothing or music, but the decisions we are discussing are permanent. Unfortunately, discussing this topic is often met with accusations of hatred. Can we not have a civil conversation? Instead, it feels like the response from woke culture is simply to shout into the void, stifling meaningful dialogue.
My entire concern is with children. My concern is not with young adults deciding to take steps to confirm their gender identity, who they feel they really are. I'm all for you doing whatever you want to do when you're an adult, when your mind is formed. But people change their mind. They change their opinion. They change their thoughts. There's nothing wrong with just deciding to be a gay man. There's nothing wrong with your body, as you grow and mature and develop, you growing out of these ideas. Some will and some won't. And the ones who won't, they always have the option to do something later on in life. But if you do something to hormonally block a child very, very early on, there's no turning back from that.
The real issue is that we rush children into making decisions they can't easily undo. Adults have the freedom to make their own choices, but asking children to make life-altering decisions is like asking a 10-year-old to get a tattoo. We've all seen the regrettable tattoos people end up with in their 20s. This situation is similar, but even more serious. Perhaps we should allow kids to be kids instead of forcing them to make significant choices before they are even old enough to drive. Things become even more complicated when societal ideologies shift. In our pursuit of progress, we have inadvertently marginalized biological women in their own category. Imagine training your entire life to compete in a sport, only to discover that you're up against someone who has lived as a man for 30 years. It's like entering a foot race and finding Usain Bolt competing alongside you. At some point, we must acknowledge that the playing field is not level. If you think that's challenging, just wait until we delve into the complexities surrounding identity and logic. For instance, the idea that someone can be a woman while also being capable of getting someone pregnant is perplexing. It's as confusing as calling a fish a bird simply because it occasionally jumps out of the water. At some point, we must step back and recognize when a conversation no longer makes sense. Biologically, men and women are distinct, much like wolves and cheetahs are different species. However, woke culture often treats the acknowledgement of these differences as a betrayal. It's like saying we can all run fast while expecting a wolf to compete in a cheetah sprinting competition. Ignoring biological facts in favor of a narrative leads to a world where everyone pretends to be the same, even though they are not. If that wasn't enough, even harmless words like brainstorming are now offensive. The woke dictionary keeps getting longer.
They said brainstorm
What?
was offensive to people that had brain injuries.
Oh my God.
That it was an ableist thing.
Oh, well, if you have a fucking brain, if you move and walk, if you're brainstorming, you're using your brain. Is running offensive? Is it offensive for people who can't run? Should the Olympics be canceled because the Olympics are ableist? What the fuck are we talking about?
Here's a thought-provoking issue. Is brainstorming now considered offensive? Some argue it could hurt the feelings of individuals with brain injuries. If that's the case, what's next? Are we going to cancel running because some people can't run? Should we stop saying standing up for your rights to avoid offending those in wheelchairs? The woke movement has taken offense so far that normal language is now under attack. Woke culture has taken us on a wild ride. Joe Rogan's breakdown highlights just how far things have strayed, from canceling people over earrings to discussions about litter boxes in schools. It's evident that we've moved away from common sense. This raises an important question. Where do you stand on this issue? Do you believe we are heading in the right direction, or is it time to reconsider our approach? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What's the most outrageous example of woke culture you've encountered?